internet marketing, or the dynamic personalisation of the web experience. Rolls off the tongue. Twittering in the UK. It kind of all started off with a website called Friends Reunited, which was where people would gather together. Moved on to things like MySpace. And, are you familiar with MySpace or YouTube? Facebook? And for us people in business, things like LinkedIn and Plaxo. You know what I'm talking about, these social networking type environments, which is one of the new ways of working. And it kind of recalls really this silent generation, where the silent generation are actually the people who are talking to each other. Not to you, but talking to each other as a peer-to-peer social network, discussing the service that they've had with you as an organisation behind your back. Of course, there's a new one now, which is this thing called Twitter. So be brave. If anybody, does anybody Twitter? Has anybody signed up to Twitter? No. If you sign up to Twitter, you can sign up. What it is you can sign up and then you can follow people. There's a famous quiz show comedian compere in the UK who's done an awful lot to really sort of publicise this, and people can sign up and say, okay, Stephen Fry, because that's his name, what are you doing? And it's an environment where you can type in, I'm in Starbucks on the high street, having a cup of coffee, do you want to come and join me? And anybody who's following you will automatically get little instant messages with that information. They can go in and pop into Starbucks. But it's also an environment where people say, I've just been on the phone to such and such an organisation. God, they're rubbish. They're so awful. Don't deal with them. It's that kind of world. And so if you sign up to Twitter and type in Cesar, you can follow Cesar. Personally, I don't really get it. I've got better things to do with my time, I have to say. But maybe that's because I'm not a Generation Yer. Now, has anybody heard of Generation Y? It's a term used, and again, I think it's a US-based term. I don't get it. I'm not a Generation Y. My two kids, age 17 and 19, do get it. They Twitter, they do all of that sort of stuff. It's because they're of that age and they like the new fun, sexy, stylish, brand-led sort of image thing, and they chat around to each other in an electronic way. They are the consumers of digital media, but actually, possibly more important, they are outweighing every other age cohort group in terms of the creation of digital media. They're the ones posting the videos up to YouTube and doing all of that stuff. They're also, by far and away, the largest group of people who are joining social networks. So it's becoming a social network thing. Now, one of the interesting things about Generation people is at the moment, that's 17% of the population. But they're kind of like the movers and shakers of the next generation of people. And next year, there'll be, instead of 18 to 28, it'll be 18 to 29, because there'll be another year in there. And the year after, it'll be 18 to 30. Don't ask what Generation Z people are going to do, by the way. It's a growing population. It is probably the marketers of the future, to be honest. What kind of things do they do? They are replacing, primarily, they're replacing television for the internet. I mean, my son sits watching telly and with his laptop on his lap, typing away. And you go, how can you multitask like that? Are you actually really listening to either? Yeah, I can cope. Yeah, it does my head in. They're also, even more so, a user of the cell phone, this thing, not that thing, but this gadget thing. And that's going to be important, because what I'm going to talk about is the use of the internet. It's probably fairly obvious to most people, again this is US science, but the internet is becoming more important from a retail perspective. and it will continue to grow. In the US, it's currently at the 6% of all retail business goes through the internet, and that's, you know, even more so in terms of travel and leisure and things like that. It's a higher percentage. I don't know what the internet penetration is in Romania. I am sure it'll be less than that, but I'm sure it is going to still be growing, and it will continue to grow, and there's nothing new in what I've said there. What is interesting, though, is that whilst, and again the same survey, talking to US population, whilst 17% will do more shopping online now, and it's a growing market, what is more important in many respects is that 33%, this bracket here, will do their research online before shopping. Now, it might be that they'll do research online and then go to the bricks and mortar shop to buy the gadget or the car or whatever it is. But it's actually the online experience that they have where they make the emotional decision to buy that one rather than this one. And that's actually more important than the transaction of buying in the first place, in many respects.